I have a Skinfession. I started a parasite cleanse, and I'm slowly poisoning myself. Hi, I'm Sybil Solon. I'm an esthetician and spa owner.
And hi, I'm Alex Ellis, and I'm a body nerd and wellness expert, and we are business besties.
And bosses. Running your own business, it's hard.
But we're terrible employees, so we're figuring it out.
I've already figured it out, but we promise to share everything we know about what it takes to get 6 figures.
And be brutally honest about what works and what totally sucks.
I'll be honest, so much of it sucks, but let's get started.
So much of it sucks.
So much of it sucks.
Oh.
I feel like what we do is talk about a lot of the things that suck.
We do.
We do. Hopefully it's helping all the things that all the suckage that we were discussing.
So much suckage. And actually today we're going to talk about some suckage, specifically about how to stop being taken advantage of by your clients. That was almost a full sentence.
Yes.
As solopreneurs, how many times have you agreed to do stuff that you didn't agree to in the first place? Or how many times have you promised things that are really, really unrealistic?
And we're going to tell you how to stop doing that.
Yes.
By the easy way of just saying no.
What?
No.
What?
Oh my gosh. To say the word no.
My gosh.
I know. Actually, and one of the ways I'd like to make sure that people talk about is that you can also say no without actually saying the word no.
This is like some Jedi mind tricks that you're going to have to teach us.
Crazy. All right. So we're going to get into it. Let's get down to business. So this kind of conversation started because I was actually talking to a client today on my bed she works at a business where she does tutoring or something. And she was discussing the fact that she was giving out free sessions to people because
This was my face.
Yeah, and this is my face too. Because she felt bad that someone else, her boss, promised that she would get stuff done in a certain amount of time. So first, ding, ding, promise that you can't keep.
Red flag.
Right? That she would get something done in a certain amount of time. And then she was not able to deliver on that promise. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in this industry, I find that the best thing to do is to under promise and over deliver.
Yeah. Much easier.
Right? And so what was happening is she was going out and she was giving these people additional time on her own behalf without money and being essentially taken advantage of. And I think in my industry especially, we get taken advantage of all the time. We feel guilty if people aren't getting enough love and attention, or they're spending a lot of money with us, or maybe they're not getting the results that we expected them to get, or they're not getting the results they expected. What is it like for you? You work with bodies.
Yeah, well, and that's the hard thing too, is I can't promise how your physiology is going to respond in any way. I can't promise that you're going to do your homework either. I think that's a big thing too, is that the relationships that we have with our clients are two ways. And so I could overpromise, but if you aren't going to hold up your end of the deal and do what I need you to do to help move this process along, you're probably still going to blame me when it didn't work, when actually it's your fault. But you can't, I guess you could say that, but they're not going to be a client anymore.
It's true. So what happened specifically with this case, and, if this has happened something to you, and this has happened to me, I'm actually going to move this onto me. So let's say I've had a client who is coming in to see me, and I've essentially told them, listen, we're going to work on your acne, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to work on your acne, and we're going to get you clear. First of all, I would never say we're going to get you clear. Okay. Because I can't guarantee that they're going to get clear, and I have estheticians all the time that are like, we're going to get you clear. And I'm like, really? That's hardcore. But we're going to work on, getting you improved. So the words you use, I think, are really important.
Yeah. No, actually, I was just having I sit here and just go, oh, wow. I have so many realizations.
We all have realizations.
I hope you guys can see all the explosions. You can hear them coming through my voice. One of the, I guess the brand promise that I make is that life without pain is possible. I don't say that, it's guaranteed.
Or you're going to live without pain.
No, I don't. Because number one, I don't think people would believe me if I said that, because it's just not realistic. And so I think in some cases people think, oh yeah, this person really is going to help me get to XYZ. And also I've fallen for this as well. When someone said, oh, I'm going to get you $2 million. I was like, here's my credit card. And we've already talked about how that worked out.
Yeah. And if you didn't listen to that one, make sure you listen to that show.
Yeah.
So what the words you choose are really important when you're talking to people. I'm very careful. So I'm talking to somebody about acne. I'm saying, okay, so we're going to work on improvement. And I'm general with people. So people need kind of expectation. They want expectation. They need to know what they need to be doing. So I give them a roadmap. So we're going to start here in general, and notice that word in general. In general, when I've worked with other people on this, I have found that it's taken me X amount of time. It's taken me this much, this many product. It's taken me whatever. You're in general and this long and whatever. And then I always finish with, but everybody's different. Mm-hmm. And we'll always check in with each other and see how it's going. And that check-in is so vital.
Yeah. Well, I think even more important than this is this happening at the start of the relationship.
Yes.
That you need to paint the picture of really like the scope of practice. And you would do this if you were hiring somebody to come do work on your house. Like you wouldn't have a contractor come in and then when they were like a third of the way through, be like, hi, so what are we actually doing here? Right? Like that makes no sense.
Like you'd have to have plans. You'd have a plan. You'd have a plan.
Yes.
You'd have a contract, which we don't often get to have contracts in our business. But
no, but we can have like a verbal. Let's just have a conversation as to what my end of the deal is and what I expect of you, so that when you're not happy or it doesn't work out the way we thought, I'm not stuck working extra hours trying to please you. Yeah. In an impossible situation.
Absolutely. Such a good point. So one of the things that this client was talking to me about was that she, some of it was out of her control because she has somebody else to answer to. And if you have somebody else to answer to, and that happens, especially when you're new in the industry, right? Sometimes you're working for yourself, but you're also working for somebody else at the same time, and that's okay. So if you have somebody else you have to answer to, make sure that you give them like what your expectations are of them as well. So, hey, she went to this person and was like, to her boss, and her boss is like, so this person paid for X amount of hours and it didn't get done in those hours. And she's like, well, I thought that it could get done. And I said that if they did these things, that it would get done. Now, for me, I would have made sure that I said, but I don't know.
Seriously, yeah.
And the words I don't know are some of the most powerful words that I use because I have no fear in saying, as somebody who knows many things, I don't know.
It's so true. It's like, and I think too, when you have the almost like self-awareness to be comfortable enough to say, I don't know, people trust you more. Yeah. Because if you pretend like you know everything, like people can see through that BS.
Right. Now, I will tell you that one of the hardest things is people to accept an I don't know. Right. People will try to ask you the same question like 7 times. And it's almost
different ways.
Yeah. And you'll be like, no, I still don't know that answer. It's still the same question and I still don't know it. Still not. Because they want the answer. They want your assurances. They want you to give them the answer. And often they want you to give them the answer they want. Yeah. And so in this instance, this particular set of family who was like, they were like, we only have 20 hours worth of money to give you for this set of stuff. And that's how it is. They wanted the answer to be like, of course we can do that. Right? That's what they wanted. Sadly, the answer was like, probably we can't, but we could try. Or, well, with these expectations in mind, we'll start at that and we'll check in and see how we're doing.
Yeah, I would say that's another phrase that I use with my clients is like, give it a try and let's see what happens. Because ultimately, I mean, especially with anything body related, we won't know how it works until you try it.
You don't know until you don't know. And when you're having a conversation, when you're kind of like a go-between, it's really awkward. It's a really hard place to be sometimes. And one of the things I think that was hard for her is that, for her, she's like, my job is just to kind of come in, I teach the kid and I leave. Right? If that's your job, which you're like, you're at a spa or something, you're like, okay, well, my job is I come in, I do the client and I leave. Okay, well, I would worry about you a little bit because you should be thinking of this as a potential, like, you should care about your clients a little bit more. But if that's your job, hey, that's cool. You like to leave at the door? Good for you.
But I think there's also some, in this particular situation too, like there's the scope of work and laying that out at the beginning, but then there's also your scope of practice. And really part of this story, I don't feel like it was her responsibility to please the clients in that way, when really it's a customer service issue, you know, and they should have gone back to the person they paid, not this contractor essentially in the middle. And I think of this too in my own business. You know, I've hired contractors. I've been on the other side of this where, you know, I paid them a ton of money up front and then they didn't do the work and they weren't communicating because we didn't accurately lay out the scope of work ahead of time. Right. And I've also hired companies that have contractors underneath them, and I'm not trying to make side deals with the contractor. I go back and talk to the person who I'm paying. So I think in this situation too, and this is also why we want to talk about this, there are people being taken advantage of from every angle. And you had a name for this type of client.
The user client. Yeah. So this is a user client. And so this is where my ding ding really went off. Like when she was talking to me about it and I finally had to my client, I had to kind of be like, I need to step aside as an esthetician. Esthetician Sybil had to step aside. And I even said, esthetician Sybil stepping aside, and business owner Sybil is going to step in for a second and have a conversation with you about your business. And I was like, thank you for the help for this podcast today.
Yeah, thank you.
What will happen is often we have these things called user clients. And it has taken me years of working with user clients, and they still sneak into my life, okay? It happens. I've been doing this for years. User clients are a client who comes at you and they want and they want and they take and they take and they don't care about you and they don't give you anything back.
Oh, I got an image of the client exactly like that.
Right? And I'm sure as soon as I said that, you're like, ooh, I got chills just thinking about the ones that have done this to me, who've hurt me, and they hurt you because as practitioners, we choose this because we care about people. We want to help people, right? Some people, you've got to set them aside because they're not trying to help you back. They're not your family. Nope. They're not your family members in this business.
If there was a fire, they would leave you behind.
Yeah. So what's going to happen with these user clients is you need to start looking for them and knowing that they are not worth your time and they are not your ideal client. So when I was talking about this client to this particular client about her issue, I was like, okay, so talk to me about what it is about this particular client for you that you felt okay kind of giving them free time. And she's like, well, there are three things. One is that there's a potential that they have more kids, so I can have additional clientele from them. Okay, well, potential clients, future client, sometimes we'll give them additional curbside, right? Second, she's like, they also have connections that I might want. Well, I'm not sure. You all make your own decisions on how you'd handle that.
You can't build a business on hope.
Exactly. Also, that's usury for you. Okay, you should never use your clients.
Well, also, let's just talk about the energetics of it. Yeah. If you are trying to use people, don't be surprised when they're trying to use you back.
The usury of clients, just never do that. If I ever need something from a client, I'll just straight up ask them, hey, I know that you do this and this. Do you mind could you help me? And sometimes I'm straight up I have a great photographer client. Can I just pay you to be my photographer? They're often too busy, but I still will ask. You never know.
Yeah.
And then the third one was, she was like, I also just felt really bad. Right? So we often do feel bad. Yeah. Okay. But the question that I asked her after that was, well, have you ever had a client like this you've had the same kind of client who you essentially went to them and you had the same issue and you went to them and said, hey, you're kind of out of time or, whatever. And could you, pay on the side or do something like that because you're out of time. And they were like, the client was like, oh, of course, we'll pay for you, or they'll just offer to pay or whatever. But they offered you money or they offered you an incentive to come and help them. This client is complaining at you. They're blaming you. They're yelling at you. They're going to your boss and making trouble for you. Is this a client that you want? This is a troublemaker client.
Hard pass. Not all money is created equal.
That's right. This is not your ideal client. This is a user client. This is a client who's going to suck you dry like a vampire. Right? So keep that in mind that sometimes you don't want a client. And trust me, I've fallen into this hole. I've had clients where they paid me all the money and I would suck up because I'm like, oh, but they give me all the money. But I hated seeing them.
So what are some red flags for spotting user clients? Because as we're talking to, I'm like,
So red flags for user clients. One is they don't respect you or your time. And we've talked about this a couple of times.
Yeah.
But they do not respect. So they're late. They're constant reschedulers in a way that when you've talked to them about the fact that the rescheduling is a problem. So if you've never had a conversation with them about things that bother you, that person may not realize that this bothers you. Okay. So do realize that sometimes it is your problem, not theirs. Okay. But they don't respect your time. They reschedule all the time. They cancel last minute, and they don't even offer to pay. And when you say like, well, I'm going to charge you, they give you shit about it.
What about always asking for a deal or a discount?
Oh my God, yes, that's a great one. So they ask for deals or discounts, or they only want to buy stuff if it's on promotion or sale. Now, there's nothing wrong if a client is like, do you have any deals going on? But they still just see you.
Yeah.
But if they're like, I'm only wanting to see you if it's a deal or discount.
So I had, we'll say, a client like this who, from the get-go, we went into the relationship, and this also, I was looking to get something out of it, and it kind of snowballed from there because I wanted to get some testimonials for a new kind of program.
Yeah.
I wanted to test out a new format, see how it worked. And so rescheduling all the time within that range of time. So it took longer.
Yeah.
To get it done because this person was rescheduling all the time. And then also, I'm trying to think of how this happened. I offered something at a discount. That's what it was to my whole clientele base. Yeah. And she took advantage of it and signed up at that rate, and then wanted to use. Oh, could I get that deal also for my boyfriend? Yeah. But I'm not going to buy it within your promotional period. Can I get it like a month from now at that rate? Yeah. And I was like, I think I even texted you. I was like, what would you do?
And I was like, oh hell's
hard
no.
pass. Yeah, you saw all the red flags.
I was like, oh,
I have red glasses. I can't see red flags. What?
I remember that. I was like, oh, hells no.
But it gets better because after all of that, she canceled.
That's right.
And it was a live event, meaning it was happening one weekend and one weekend only. So now she's paid me money for a service that I delivered, and I'm not going to be delivering again. And actually, I rescheduled her, and she canceled again for another live event. So now here I am carrying the burden of this money because I feel bad, right? Because I've accepted money from her. I'm not able to deliver said service because it's for a thing, something else. And so finally what I did, because also think of this, like the time money relationship. So my online membership, it costs money, but not a lot of my time, right? Because it's scalable. So I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you 3 months or something in the membership when, I'll apply all of your balance to that. And then we can talk about it, down the line.
Right.
Gave her all this stuff. What do you think she did with it?
She never used it.
Never used it.
No.
But that money has since expired. I deleted her membership, and I have washed my hands clean and moved away.
That was right. And that's how you handle that situation. Good job.
Yeah,
high five.
Thank you.
High-fiving this office. That's right.
So maybe think, if you do have somebody who is sucking you dry, a succubus, I think would be the technical term, and you're just realizing it now, perhaps there is a way in which you could terminate the relationship without having to give your time, which at this point is way more valuable than anything they're trying to steal from you.
Absolutely. And I am going to say that sometimes these clients masquerade as very, very nice people. Okay. And I do try to say this. They don't walk around being like, evil capes and hats and whatnot. Sometimes these people are like, you're like, I really like this person. This person seems nice. Often they do not. But sometimes they do. But they are still sucking you dry. Okay. So I really want you to think about when you're looking at your clientele and future clients, new clients that are coming in. If you're like looking at this client and being like, whoa, this client's such a pain in my ass. Are they worth keeping? Are they user clients? This is not your ideal client. I'm telling you, as somebody who's been doing this for years, 5 years down the line, fuck that client. You don't want them. There's not enough money in the world. I don't care if it's Brad Pitt. It's not worth it. And I'm going to tell you straight up as somebody who sees a bunch of high profiles, it's almost always the high profiles that are giving you shit. It's not your teacher.
No, it's scraping together money.
Right. She's so happy to come in. And she understands the value of your time and her time. Right. But I'm also going to say, because this industry does have a bunch of really badly, I don't know how to say this nicely. I can't. Skinfessional time. This industry has a bad reputation for really shitty people working and not actually showing up on time, rescheduling people. Like, I'm sure yours does the same. I mean, I don't know how many times I've gone to yoga class and like,
And
the teacher didn't show up.
I know.
I was sitting in a party just recently. This is a true story. I was sitting at a party of a client of my own, and somebody was sitting next to me, and she's like, "Oh, so you're so-and-so's esthetician?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes, "I have a really great esthetician. He's amazing." I'm like, "Oh, I'm so glad for you. I hope that he's doing a great job." And she's like, "I love him, but he's so hard to get into." I'm like, "Well, that just means he's doing a really good job. You just need to book farther in advance." And she's like, "No, the thing is like he just never shows up to the appointments."
What?
And
Oh
like,
my gosh.
he never shows up to the appointments. And when he is at the appointment, I have to sit outside my car for like 15 to 30 minutes because like he's always like really late, and he's like, he runs over people. I literally looked at her and I'm like, I mean, is he really that good? And she's like, no, he's amazing. I'm like, because I'm fucking amazing, and none of my clients sit around waiting for my ass. And she like looked at me and I'm like, seriously. I'm like, I am one of the best, and nobody sits around waiting because your time is valuable and so is mine.
Well, also, let's talk about respect.
Yeah.
Respect is a two-way street.
So don't use your other people. Don't be a user yourself.
No, both ways. Right. And also, a user client is going to absorb all of your resources, and that's just they're gonna suck from you and all the people who actually value your time. So it really is in your best interest to say goodbye.
Yes, because this client is also the person who like stands with you for like 5 hours and will not leave and keeps talking even though somebody else is in your reception area, and they can't seem to leave, and they love you so much they just can't get away from you.
Creepy.
Right? And there are some people where they need extra curbside. They need extra time with you, and understand that person, it's just, that's part of their facial time with you, is to give them that extra love. And I have clients that I schedule them an extra 25 minutes and I don't charge them. Just hang out and chat with me post-treatment. And you know why? Because that person actually just needs somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And that's part of the job. And that's okay. I make that choice.
Yeah.
And we talked about this,
yes,
right?
Yes. So here's the difference. Like, when is it okay to go beyond the scope of what was agreed upon or start to work outside of what you're actually getting paid for? And I think that's the big difference, is how you are showing up. I want to be here.
Yes.
I enjoy this. I really, I want to get this client the results that I promised them or that we talked about and set those expectations. And I don't have any icky feelings about the time that it's going to take. Like, I think that's really important.
Yeah, because I definitely have. So we were just talking, I have an acne client right now who's one of the hardest cases I've ever worked on. And it is beating me down because it's usually not like this for me anymore. And I literally am seeing her probably every other day. And I've at this point just essentially stopped charging her for these smaller visits. So I charge her for like monthly, and I charge her for her product. But I even have now, if I get like a return product, I just give it to her instead of like charging even half price if it's appropriate for her, because I just want to win. I want to win over her acne, and I want to know why the usual protocols aren't working and what's going on. I'm digging deep into the stuff, because if I can fix what's going on with this, there's going to be somebody else down the road, whether it's you out there who you have these problems, or it's somebody down the street who has this problem, or I get another person on my bed one day who has this problem.
But also, from our conversations about this client, how she is showing up to the relationship is very different.
That's correct. Thank you for bringing that up. She has 100% been involved. She cares. She always asks me if she should pay. She's like, "Should I give you a tip today? Do you want a tip?" And I'm like, "No." She always brings me a coffee. She'll like ask me before she comes, "Can I bring you a coffee? Do you need any food?" Like, she's so incredibly considerate. So of course I care about her. She's so kind. If she was just like, "Oh, thanks, whatever," or like, "Okay, bye," I'd probably be like, "Well, do you understand that I just gave you like $100 treatment for like nothing?" Okay.
Right.
But she's doing the work. She's putting in the time. Before that, she's been with me for like 6 to 8 months and doing the work and digging in. Right.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely how the people show up completely alters a relationship.
Yeah.
Because if you're giving and giving and giving and they're just taking, they're hardcore user clients.
Yes. God, the user clients.
Cut them.
Get rid of them.
But I think there's also room for, because again, if it's your business, it's your business. But like, I have a client right now who I promised, we talked about this word.
Promise.
I guided her to purchase a more off-hands product that didn't work for her. And truly, it wasn't the right thing for where she was at that time. And it took me a few months to realize that. And so now, with that in mind, I'm offering her a higher touch product that is more expensive, but I will say, like, I do feel kind of bad. Like, I have integrity. I'm not going to allow somebody to pay me money to get zero results because I gave them the wrong thing from the beginning and just send them on their way. Like, that's not the type of business person I am. That's not the type of person I am. And that's not the type of business I have. So in this case, I feel completely comfortable of, hey, here's what I'm thinking. Here's a completely different offer, a different way for us to work together. But I think this is going to be better for you and where you're at now and your needs. Knowing and hoping, so here's the other thing we got to talk about the hoping, that she'll get the results that she's been seeking. And then I will have one to some degree, but I'll have another happy client that I'll feel good about.
Right. Yeah, no. And I think that sometimes when you promise things, and this is so hard, I think, in any industry we do with people, when you promise things, you often are let down. Yeah. You often are let down, right? And I've promised stuff before. I'm like, oh, no, it's totally going to work. This product is going to do the job for you. And then they come back and they're like, this is what happened. And you're like, oh, well, that's messed up. Okay.
That's new.
That's not what I expected at all. Okay. So promising is not something we should be doing. It's hard. And with something like that, in that case, I look at that and I'm like, the choice to make that decision is 100% yours. Yep. Could you have made the decision to look at her and be like, is she really doing the work? Is it you, not her? Like
a little bit of both, but I don't want to give up yet.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Well, because you want to win. Yes. It's the challenge.
Ask me about this puzzle I've been working on for months.
I told her to burn this puzzle. Like, get rid of flamethrower that
But
thing.
I think as an entrepreneur, especially a solopreneur, like, you have to have that competitive edge.
You have to have challenges.
Or you would have given up years ago. Holy schmoly.
And if you're listening to this and you're thinking about giving up,
don't. Keep going.
Unless you really want to, because you're not an entrepreneur. And I'm just going to be like, go away. But if you're just like thinking about it because you're sad and it's hard, it's sad and hard. That's why we're doing this. Yeah. It's sad and it's hard sometimes. Yeah. It gets better and then it gets worse again. And then
sometimes within the same hour.
Yeah. It gets better and then it gets worse again. And then it gets better. It's all going to work out in the end if you keep going.
Have you ever seen that? It's like the timeline of an entrepreneur. It's like, everything is awesome. Everything sucks.
Also, it's terrible. Just a circle. It's just a circle.
And it's so very true. It is.
I also wanted to just kind of touch on kind of the ways, because we talked about like how you can recognize them, how you get rid of users.
Ah, yes.
Getting rid of users can be difficult. First of all, if you cannot let them into your life. So let's say you have a client who you know existing right now is a user client. So how I handle users is I first just don't let them on my book. And we have a whole episode about dealing with like getting people off your book. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, we did.
Pretty sure we did that one. But yeah, I don't let them on my book. So I just like, it's really hard to rebook and there's just no space for you. Okay, cool. That no space for you is really good. There's just no room on my book for you right now. Learn those words. There's no room on my book for you right now. It's just a great one to use. And it just subconsciously lets them know that there's just no room for them on your book right now.
For you.
Yep, just for you. So there's no room for you on my book right now. Yes. And then, so you're not letting them back on your book. You can start making it more difficult for them to get in your book. So maybe you're letting them on your book, but only in uncomfortable places. So those slots that you're like can't fill anyways.
Monday, 1:00.
Yeah, Wednesday 4. You know that Wednesday 4 o'clock slot that nobody actually keeps and you're always like dead and you probably just do nothing during but watch Netflix and eat food.
Really? Cool. Wednesdays at 4?
Wednesday at 4 is when you get to like eat food, run to Starbucks, whatever.
Interesting.
Wednesday 4. Actually 4 o'clock almost any day, but Wednesdays at 4 are particularly bad. So you got that day, you got that time. Not on Saturdays and Sundays, forget it.
Oh gosh, no.
Right.
There's no time for you.
There's no time for you on my book right now. No time for you on my book right now. And then you sometimes can have a heart-to-heart talk with them. Sometimes they don't realize. So if you are kind of like wishy-washy, you're not really sure what the problem is, and you're okay with confrontation, I know that a lot of people are not, and that is okay. Then
can I text them?
Right. You can have a conversation with them. Where you're just like, hi, so I just wanted to let you know that we're having this problem. I just feel kind of used. And use the word used. Use the word used.
Wow. That's
feel used.
Very blunt.
I know. I'm a very blunt person.
But it cuts through so much BS. I just think of how many times I've bent over backwards or just like angsted over things when I could just be like, hi, so I feel like I'm being used.
Right.
What are we going to do about this?
Or like what you're asking me right now is kind of making me feel used. Was that your intent? And I like to ask questions back to people when I want an answer from them. So like when somebody asks me a question, I don't actually want to give an answer. I don't know how to answer that. I'll ask a question right back to them. But in this case, I actually want the answer from them of, was that your intention? Is that how you want me to feel? And then you can let them go with that and find out, because sometimes
does anyone ever say yes?
No, but you'll be surprised by the conversation answers you get.
Oh.
So, I mean, I've had times where people are like, no, but I mean, I expected. Ooh, did they say the word fucking expected to me? And then I don't even know what else they said because my mind is exploding. Anesthetician Sybil was like, I have to be put aside right now because Sybil is about to explode. And expected. Oh my God. If anybody ever comes back to you with expected, which, oh my God, happens all the time to me. When you say...
Wait, tell me the story. Like, okay. Give me an example.
I'm going to give you an example. So I had a client one time where they made it... I give people usually 3 shots.
Right,
well, I used to give people 3 shots, okay?
Now they get 1.5.
Yeah, fuck those people. So 3 shots to be like a normal human being.
Okay.
Right? So this person was on their 3rd, and he was like...
Like canceling, not showing?
He showed up for his first appointment. The second one, he rescheduled, but then he did show, but he was 15 minutes late. And then the third one, he was like, this is kind of expensive, which is a whole nother appointment, like episode about dudes and pricing. This is kind of expensive. Do you have any like promotions? And I'm like, I don't really do discounts. And he's like, because this is kind of pricey.
He's already made the appointment and already come twice.
Right. And I'm like, well, this is the cost that it is. And he's like, he went to go ask me more questions. I'm like, excuse me, can I just stop you for a second? And he's like, and I'm like, this conversation is kind of making me feel used right now. You booked this appointment. You know how much the pricing is. If this was a restaurant, you would not be negotiating the bill. And I'm like, was that your intent?
This is after the service has already been delivered.
After the service, because we pay after, right?
Right.
Which is always weird anyways. And I was like, so was that your intent? And he like stared and looked at me. He's like, well, I kind of expected. And I was like, I really, to this day, I have no idea what he said. Because when he said expected, my mind just exploded. And I was like, oh, hell no. And then I waited for him to finish, but I was not paying any attention. I was like, well, you have a couple of options. So your option is that you can never come in to see me again, which is perfectly fine with me. I can call the police and you can, pay me with a police officer standing next to me, or you can pay me now without any more muss or fuss. And he was like, well, I don't think we need to be like getting like that. I mean, we're just having a conversation. And I honestly remember nothing of what he said. And I was like, I just really need to make sure that we're on the same page with this. Like, I need to get paid. And then our relationship probably can be over. And he's like, well, I mean, and I was like, and our relationship probably can be over.
We're done here.
Yeah, and that was that. And then he left, and I got a very nasty Yelp review, which I understand these conversations often lead to nasty Yelp reviews. But that was that. Now, mind you,
one nasty Yelp review to a lifetime of happiness.
I know, it's true. But I will tell you that, let's tell one that has gone completely well. So I had a client, and she essentially been kind of like, every time she came in, she goes, well, are you having any specials on product? And I was like, I don't really have specials on product. And she's like, well, everything's kind of expensive. And I'm like, and she goes, when I first came in, it was a 10% off deal. And I'm like, well, your first deal, I'm a dealer. So the first time is always cheaper. And then,
then I get you hooked.
And then I charge you money for everything else. And she goes, and I can't find these products online. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Because I do private label. And so she's like, well, I kind of want a special. I'm like, well, what I can do for you is, and I stopped for a second. I was going to just make fun of it and say, I'll inflate my prices so I can make them cheaper for you. But then I just decided I didn't want to deal with this client anymore. And I looked at her and I was like, straight up, I'm like, I kind of feel used with this conversation. It's making me feel really bad. And when I feel really bad, I just stop seeing clients. And I'm like, do you want me to feel that way? And she looked at me and she sat down and she goes, no, I don't. And she goes, I feel so bad. I'm so sorry. She goes, and she started crying.
Oh my gosh.
And what wound up happening is she just told me that for her, like, she's used to like haggling for stuff. And like, it's just, she doesn't actually know how to pay full price for things, et cetera. And I'm like, so for you, if I actually just made everything more expensive and promote it, you'd feel better, which is what I was going to be originally like Josh about. And she's like, yeah, it probably would. I'm like, okay, well then what'll happen next time when you come in is everything is going to be 25% off for you. And she's like, this is stupid. And I'm like, will it make you feel better? And she goes, no, not anymore. And she's to this day my client. And she's a good person and we don't have problems. But I will straight up tell you that like, it was a very weird conversation and it made me feel awkward when she started crying. And
you're like, oh no, emotions.
Well, it was like, I was like, oh my God, I made this lady cry in my office. This is going to be the worst Yelp review ever. And she's to this day my client.
Well, I think having these difficult conversations is also like a litmus test to really kind of figure out what kind of person is this?
Yeah.
And do I want to hang around with them more or do I want to show them the door?
Yeah. So, because user clients, man. They gotta go. Other things we kind of touched on with user clients when red flags.
Yeah.
Do they tip?
Do
they tip? And there's a whole other episode on tipping. Like we can do a whole thing on how tips work because tips in our industry is freaking terrifying. Like any industry, it's probably terrifying. But I price things so I do not need tips. Okay. But if a client does not tip me, it is a bit of a red flag. Now, I'm not saying they have to tip me 20%. I'm not even, like, if they give me, like, $5 sometimes. Now, if they, like, are super needy and they have fancy stuff and whatever, and I'm just like, really? You're going to give me, like, a $5 tip? Like, what's wrong with you as a person, right? But, like, you're a social worker or something, and, like, I'm just happy that you could give me, you came in with cookies for me.
Right. Well, I think that's important that tipping may not necessarily always have to be money.
It's not per se always financial.
Yeah.
It's really about how you're treated by that person, how the tip is felt to you.
I know that you accept tips in Starbucks.
I totally accept tips at Starbucks. I do not get out for meals. I work back to back to back to back to back, sometimes 12-hour days. And so if a client is like, Sybil, I'm on my way to you. Can I grab you something? I'm like, hell to the yeah. And a lot of my clients know that I can't even answer my phone because I'm with a client and they'll just be like, I brought you stuff. And I'm like, you're the best. And they're like, and I'm going to sit here and watch you eat it. I'm like, that's even better.
Now I'm feeling like, shoot, I need to know your order. I don't know your order. And I do, because I pass Starbucks every time. And I'm like, maybe I should stop, but I don't know what she wants. That's all right.
There you are.
This is a deeper conversation that will be happening later.
It's totally true. Well, and now that they have the app, a lot of times they'll text me the night before and be like, just throw it in the app. And throw it, and I'll just pick it up for you. And that way, I don't even have to worry about them buying it. Sometimes it's just the picking it up for me. So, like, you have a student who, like, really is, like, on no budget. All their money is going to you. I can just the going to get it for me sometimes is tip enough.
Oh, my God. Well, I think we have a new Friday ritual.
So these are the kind of things sponsored by Starbucks.
I wish.
So these are the kind of things that you have to think about. This particular time that I'm thinking about is I have a client who she never tips me, and yet she wants me to come in on like strange days and stuff. She's a perfectly fine client. Do I come in at strange days and times for her?
Hard pass.
No, I don't. Do I do that for a bunch of my other clients? Yeah. I do. A client calls me up and I'm like literally landing at the Burbank airport and they're like, Sybil, I saw on Instagram that you were landing at the Burbank airport. I'm circling around the airport.
Is this happening?
This is a totally true story. I'm circling around the airport. Can I pick you up and will you come look at something for me? Which, by the way, is the worst ingrown hair to this day I've ever seen. And I was like, yeah, come grab me. I will come look at that.
Did they tip?
She did.
That's right.
She also is a person who always brings me something, is always very sweet, gives me a Christmas card, those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. She's just super kind, right? So, did I accept that tip? No, I did not.
Whoa.
Sometimes I just say no to things because like they're a good person. I'm just like, no, this is on the house. Don't worry. Thanks for the drive over to my office and therefore my car. I was gonna have to walk over here anyways.
Oh, perfect. Well, so I think this brings us to kind of like this wellness piece, which is to me the energetics of the exchange and always making sure that you are really tapped into almost like a gut check of how something makes you feel. So if you're like standing in front of this person and you need a moment, like take a moment. Maybe, have you ever gotten out of a situation? Like what would you suggest?
Oh God. Yeah. So there have been times where I've definitely needed like, you can always say, I have to go to the bathroom. I need to wash my hands. For me,
let me wash my hands. I'll be right back.
Yeah, wash my hands. I'll be right back. I've had I'm like, hold on, I need to like just check this thing really quick. Even if they're sitting next to me, I'll just be like, just 1 second. I need to just check this thing on my computer, and I just pretend to be doing something on my computer. Right? You can do something on your phone. Walk into your other room and just putter.
Yeah.
Right? While you think about what you need to do and gather yourself, if you're not a person who thinks this quickly or you haven't dealt with this issue before, something like that. Also, I've run these scenarios by people before. So I've play acted
After the
these
fact or before?
Before the fact.
Before the confrontation.
Before the confrontation, I've run these. I'm like, so if I did this, what would it be like? And people are like, this is horrible. And I'm like, that's still okay.
Yeah.
Or what if you said this instead? Because my boyfriend is particularly good about, like, he's super non-confrontational and scared about life. And so he's very good about being like, maybe you should say it like this instead. And I was like, that's good. Okay. So most of these things have been tried and tested.
Yeah. So, take some time.
Yeah. Breathe.
Really deep breathing, just hit the pause button and really tap into like how you actually feel about this, because I think oftentimes we react from more of like that fight or flight place and you're not thinking clearly then. So if it's an email, maybe write something and walk away.
Don't send it. Wait an entire 24 hours on an email. Yeah. Wait an entire... I've actually drafted 4 or 5 emails over a space of a few days before I've sent anything.
Yeah. And, that's the nice thing about digital is you don't have somebody in front of you.
And do not put their email in the address bar.
So when you accidentally hit send?
Yes. Just...
you know what I do? I put it in the body.
That's a good
idea. I
idea.
paste it in the body and then I type it. So it's there.
This is valuable. This is gold.
I mean, right there. It saved you so much heartache.
There you go. Because, I don't put it in there because I've sent them by accident so many times. It's not... I mean, Google has that quick, like, don't unsend it, but like you have to go find it and you're all stressed out.
So don't send the email, sit on it. Or another way I like to process just deep thoughts is moving. So take a walk. Walk around the block if you can, if you have the time. Maybe, again, you put a pin on it, let me get back to you. Give yourself that 24-hour time and think about it. For me, I'm definitely a kinesthetic learner. Like, my body was designed to move. I think most of us probably are kinesthetic learners to some degree. And so moving your body is going to help you really metabolize what's going on, think about it, process it, so that when you show up and have that conversation, whether it's face-to-face or screen-to-screen, you are saying what you really want to say from a authentic place.
Right. And it's a really good point, because you will have this spot where they come back at you and there's going to be a point where when they're talking back to you that you either are not listening because you're like, did I just say what happened? Right. And you also have all this like adrenaline jitter. You have all this adrenaline jitter. Okay. So it's okay to just be like, take a breath.
Let me get back to you.
Yeah. Let me get back to you about that. And take a beat.
Yeah.
Take a beat.
I've definitely said that to that user client who asked me for something that I was literally insulted. And I was just like, let me think about that. I'll get back to you.
Yeah, some time on that is good. I also have found another good tip with this. If you know that you're going to be like...
Triggered?
Yeah, triggered. If you can do it when you have another client who you trust in the office, it does help.
Oh.
So if you know that you're about to like get rid of a client...
So that you're not there alone.
You're not there alone. And it's a client that you trust. So that you know you can trust
They're not going to freak out?
Well, so that you just know that like when that person's there, they've got your back in case something happens.
Right.
It's not even like a safety issue. Sometimes it's just like that person's like, yeah, no, that's true. Okay.
Does that happen too?
Totally. I totally stack clients like that sometimes if I know what has to be done. Like when I break up with clients, it's a whole other episode. When I break up with clients, I stack a client. And so that way, like I'd stack you if I had to.
Oh, yeah.
And be like Alex has got my back in case something goes down.
You would need to tell me to speak up because normally I'm seen, not heard in this office.
You would 100% speak up if something horrifying was happening. You'd be like, you can't talk to her like that.
Like, hello, excuse me, you need to see yourself out the door.
Because it's happened sometimes where like stuff goes sideways.
So take a minute.
Yeah, take your time.
Play through the scenarios of what you want to say and how the other person might react, and then also stick to your guns.
Yeah.
Decide what the scope of how you want this relationship to be and what you're going to stand for and what you will not accept, and then just stand your ground. So when they try to take more and take more and take more, you can be like, you know what? No.
Good job. Good session, guys. Good session. All right, well, so we're at the bottom of our thing.
We're at the bottom of the notes where you start to talk about your box. But before we get there, we want to know your experience. Do you have user clients, or have you just had light bulb explosion moments where you're like, oh my God, I have so many user clients that you now have to delete? Whatever it may be, we want to know. So come find us. We are on Instagram at Skinfessional.
We are at Skinfessional. It's very exciting. I sound not excited, but I am. I'm just like thinking, I'm still actually trauma about talking about like the person who was super mean to me. Because you will get triggered. Okay. You still will get triggered. Look, I've been doing this for years and I still get triggered. Okay.
People are assholes. I mean, let's just be honest.
They can be super jerks. Okay. Don't feel alone. All right.
Like, would you pay your doctor after and ask for a discount? No. So thank you.
People can be such jerks. Okay. And we do have a Skinfessional box. The phone number is 818-473-5277. And we actually want to hear pretty much anything from you because I have a bunch of things that we want to talk about. But if you have specific questions, A, if we have it, we'll move it to the top. And B, for all you know, we'll talk about your question with your name if that's what you want.
Or if you want to share a Skinfessional. Like,
Skinfessional.
I mean, this parasite cleanse, that's some freaky stuff that do not look at the reviews on Amazon.
So I'm using because now we're at the very end. If you made it to the end.
If you made it to the end, you get the goods. Here's the gold, you guys.
I'm using the Now brand of the wormwood. Look it up. It's like wormwood, and it's the Now brand.
It might kill you.
And it does have a little bit of toxin in it. I straight up tell you it's poison. Do not look at the photos.
Oh my God, it's like burned into my memory.
I warned her.
I know, but I didn't know it was going to be the first photo on the Amazon review.
They're so scary. You're like, why do I want to see your tapeworms? It came out of your butt.
Gross. It's so gross.
It's scary. It's scary. If you want to hear all about my journey on parasites, let me know. I'm contemplating talking about it to people besides Alex.
Yeah.
All right, and until next week.
Keep your secrets to yourself.
Unless you're telling us.
Okay, bye.
Bye.